Hey guys, welcome to another video. Previously we have already looked at how to host a static web application on AWS. There we used this particular architecture where we hosted our static files, basically index.html and error.html, those HTML files on S3 bucket, and we served them from CloudFront whenever user is requesting for that. But when it comes to real world application, the front end does a lot of heavy lifting. So most people tend to use an JavaScript framework. It could be Angular, React, Vue.js, or whatever the preferred JavaScript framework to do complex front end logic. But when it comes to hosting it on AWS platform, especially on S3 bucket, the process is more or less the similar. So today we will see exactly that. So first of all, we need to have some application. So I'll start with an Angular application. First of all, we need to have Angular CLI, which of course most of those front-end framework provides. That will be easily scaffold an application of that particular framework. So in this case, Angular CLI. So let me go to my project directory, and yeah, firstly I have to install it globally, which I have already done. Just copy paste it and press enter. I'm not going to do that since I already have it. Once it is done, you can simply check the version by typing ng-v. Let's see the version of our CLI. Okay, I have 1.7.0. Oh, that's fine. So let's spin up a new Angular application by typing in this command. Let me go back here. So basically ng-new, the name of your application, then I will use SCSS as my styles, and I will add Angular routing as well. I will press enter. So it's going to create my Angular application. So let's wait until this is completed. Meanwhile, shall we just go to our previous application and have a look at the S3 bucket. So I am in my AWS console. Yeah, select S3. By the way, if you haven't followed that particular video, I will put up a link somewhere or maybe in the description so you guys can follow along. Yes, my website name was daytodaycode.com. Okay, basically if I visit that particular site, the internet is a little slower today. Yes, let me go inside my bucket and show you those two static files I have, index.html and error.html. And if I visit my website, the index will render, and if I go to any other routes, the error file will pops up. So this is very simple application since it only has these couple of files, right? Okay, so let's go back to our Angular application. Hope it's done. I think it is doing the last few steps. So anyway, let me open this application. Yeah, basically for any front-end application, today you have a package.json file where you list down all your dependencies. Yeah? You have dev dependencies, you have application dependencies, everything listed down here. And by typing npm install or yarn install, you can install your application. So the interesting part here is this script section, because this is the place where we're going to add a couple of scripts and easily allow whoever the user to publish onto our S3 bucket. Okay, now my Angular application is complete. So let's try to use one of these script and get the application running. I will use start, that means npm run start to start my application. I think I'm not in the correct path. Yeah, I'm not in the correct directory. Okay, let me just open up my console again. Yeah, I have to just go into my Angular application folder. Now let me see. Yes, now I am in the correct directory. I will run npm run start to start my application. So it's gonna execute this particular command, ngserve. Okay, now it says you can open your browser on this particular URL, localhost. Let me go back to my browser and paste in this URL. So it will basically open the Angular application. So this is the one. So let's do a little change. Let's take out these links. Let me go back to the Angular application and let's go to the source file, source folder, app, then application component yes, yeah, application component HTML rather, and I will just remove these URLs, these links, so then we will have a clean interface. I will save it, then it will automatically be refreshed. Okay, now I want to host this application on AWS. So how can I do this? Obviously, if I go to my directory, Angular directory, there are so many files. I don't want everything to be put onto my S3 bucket because that's useless. Whichever the web application or whichever the web application framework that you may use, ultimately what we will export onto the S3 is some HTML, JavaScript and CSS file because that's what browser can read. So how can we do that? So it's quite easy with this modern JavaScript framework because they already have given a command to build the application. Yeah, you see there's a script to build the application. So let's run that. npm run build. So it's going to build my application. Actually, it will create a new folder to hold those build files. So once it is built, it will ultimately be some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So that's why I said it's almost the same for any front-end framework when it comes to hosting it on AWS, because this is the folder, whatever the build directory is the one that we put onto the S3. Okay, it's doing its thing. Okay, you see there's a new folder pops up. It's called dist. If you go into that, you see it's nothing but some HTML, some JavaScript, some CSS. So this is perfect. So if we just put this thing into my S3 bucket, it will serve my Angular application, right? So how can we do that? Basically, this is my host machine. So I should be able to upload this folder onto my S3. But I can't do that without permission. So first, I have to create a user where I have the permission to upload this particular directory onto S3. So in order to configure that, let's go to our AWS console. Let's use IAM, Identity and Access Management of AWS. So this is the place where we will create users and roles and provide them permission. In our case, we have to create a user. So in IAM, select users. So at the moment I have these 3 users. I'll create another one. Let's say Peter. So when providing access, there are 2 types: programmatic access and AWS Management Console access. So this is basically if you want this user to access to your AWS console, right? Yeah, let's give him both. So basically, the programmatic access is basically connecting to the AWS services via CLI. So I'll provide both these access and click next permission. Well, it's time to give this user some permissions so he can basically upload some files onto S3. So let's click attach existing policies directly, this one. Yeah. Then if you just scroll down, you will see a bunch of permissions that we can attach for this user. For example, administrator access. If you give this permission, he will basically have access to all the services, including management aspects as well. But it's best practice for AWS not to give all the permission that the user wants, but give only the permission that he requires for his job. So in our case, we want him to upload files to S3. So let's search for S3. Now when I search for S3, there is like Amazon S3 full access. Yeah, it will provide full access to all buckets via AWS Management Console. But still, again, this is too much for them, right? Because I don't want him to access all my buckets, but this particular bucket, that is the one that I hosted my web application. So let's not even give this, but let's create a new policy. Just click on here, create policy. Sometimes we just provide all those additional permissions thinking that later on we'll refine it, but we forget it. So let's do it right from the beginning. Yeah. So in this create policy window, you can either choose Visual Editor or you can use JSON view, where you can straight away type in your JSON document for the policy. But for simplicity's sake, let's use the Visual Editor. Yeah. First of all, we have to choose which service we are going to provide access for this user. Click here. Maybe you can just type in S3. Just select S3. Go. Then we have to select what actions that this user has, or we provide him to do. Click select actions. There are like 4 categories. First one is list, read, write, and permission management. If you expand this list group or category, you'll see there are few permissions. So I don't mind him listing my buckets as long as he's not writing anything. So I'll give full access to listing. When it comes to reading, well, I will allow him to get the object or read that particular object. So that would be enough. And when it comes to write, so this is where I should be really careful about, because if I just provide him the privileges to delete objects, he can of course delete the whole object. But I don't want that to happen. So what I will do is I will just pick select only the permission that he requires. So in this case, put object. So this is basically put some object into S3 bucket. Well, I believe that would be enough. That's all he wants to do. Yeah. And third one, permission management. I don't want anything to happen for this user. Yeah, because I already have configured these bucket policies and everything. So basically, he'll be able to list the buckets. He'll be able to read, and he'll be able to write or put object to S3. Let's see, I hope this permission will be enough for our purpose. If not, we'll come back to this and refine their permissions. Okay, third step is just click the resource. Basically, since we are providing it the permission for S3, you can either select for all S3 bucket or for one particular S3 bucket. So always go for specifications, right? Just click specific, and then you have to select your S3 bucket. You can simply select it by clicking add ARN or Amazon resource name. Yeah. In this case, you have to provide the ARN of your bucket. So how can you get that? Just go to another tab and just go to S3. In S3, just search for your bucket, this one. Just click outside here, maybe somewhere here. Don't just go into the bucket, just click outside. Once you click outside, this window will appear. Here there's a button to copy bucket ARN. Just click on that. Come back to your previous window. Just remove everything and just paste it. Alright? Okay, cool. Then you simply add it. Afterwards, there's something called object. So we gave the ARN for the bucket, and for what objects? The objects, actually, we don't have to put any restrictions. We'll put any object. So what I basically say is, he's able to just upload objects onto this S3 bucket. He can replace or he can add anything inside this bucket. So that's what we say, just any object. So that's it. Let's review the policy and maybe give it a name. Let's say restricted S3 access, and just create the policy. Okay, now that we have created the policy, it's time to go back to our user by clicking users from left side. I think my user is not added. Let me create him again. Okay, Peter. Let's give him programmatic access and both Amazon console access. Go to next and attach existing policies directly. And here you can just filter out your custom policies by clicking here and simply click customer manage policies, and there you will find your policy, restricted S3 access. Select it and click next review, create user. Okay. Now my user will be created along with those permissions. Now this is the place where we have to download his credentials, basically the access key ID for this particular user and secret access key, and as well as a password if he wants to log into his AWS console. For programmatically access, we only need access key and secret access key. So let's click download CSV, or maybe we can just come here and just copy paste these secret access keys. Let me just open up something. Let's open up our Visual Studio Code itself, and let me create a new file. Great. So this is our secret and this is our access key, access ID. So it's this. Okay. So why would you need this? Basically this is the place where we will configure our local machine for this user to upload files from his local machine to AWS. We need this access key and secret access key. Okay, let's just close this out. So my user will appear here. Okay, so let's come back to our presentation. So we created our Angular application, and in the next slides we have to do some configuration on AWS. So we basically perform this step, like we create the user on AWS and we granted him necessary permission. Yeah. Now we have to have AWS CLI installed so that this user can talk to AWS services along with his credentials. Yeah. So in order to install AWS CLI, you can either just copy paste this URL, or you can simply go to Google and say AWS CLI install. Just click on the very first link, and there you can select install. And install, you can pick your operating system. In my case, Mac OS. Or if it is Windows, just click Windows, and there's a MSI installer where you can simply download the MSI and just install it as any other program, and your CLI will be ready to go. In Mac OS, and basically click here you can just follow along these easy steps, right? Basically, we will use CLI install through pip. If pip is not available, install Python with this. Yeah, just follow along this, and finally just type in AWS dash dash version, and you will see the version of the CLI. So let's actually see. I will type AWS dash dash version. Wait for it. Okay. So I have this particular version. Okay, that's great. Let's go back to our presentation here. Now that we have installed the CLI, we have to configure our AWS CLI with that user we created. In order to do that, there's a simple command, right? So it's basically AWS configure, then you have to put this flag dash dash profile, then the username. Yeah. So in our case, it's Peter. So let's copy this. Come back to our Visual Studio Code. Oops. Okay. AWS configure dash dash profile, then our username is Peter. Then you will be asked to enter the access key. So this is our access key. Copy it, paste it, press enter. Then the secret access key. Copy it and paste it. Make sure not to share the secret access key with anyone, otherwise they will also be able to access to your AWS. I'm gonna remove this after this video. Okay, just press enter, just let them select the default font for region and output format. Okay, done. You can actually see these configuration files if you visit cd.aws, this folder. If you list the files, you will see there's config file and credential file. Now let me open credential file. You'll see this one, Peter, my username, and it has configured its access ID and secret access key. Very cool. Okay, now we are able to push our code to S3. So shall we do that? First of all, we need to build our project. We have already built it, so that's how this dist folder appeared. Then let's write a simple script. I will call this script deploy-s3. You can name it whatever the thing you want. To deploy to S3, we have a separate AWS CLI command. Let me go to my presentation here and go to the next slide. To deploy into S3, we can use this particular command. You can find all about this command if you simply go to the documentation of AWS CLI. Since we don't have time, I will just simply copy this one. Come back to my project and simply paste it. So what does this say? AWS S3 is the service. Yeah. Then actually I have to add one more thing here, which I have of course forgotten. It's the profile. Just type the profile flag and your profile is Peter. Yeah. Then you use sync command, which is of course used to sync files with S3 folder. And you have to give your bucket name. Just go to your AWS back, yeah, and just select the bucket name. In my case, it's daytodaycode.com. Just type in daytodaycode.com and make sure to put this prefix s3 colon //. And we have to give the folder path of our local machine. So my folder where my files are containing is called dist. Yeah. So I am at this level, like package.json, it's in the same level. So I can simply say /dist folder and everything inside it. So it will just pull down all the content, all the files inside my dist folder and sync it with S3 bucket here. And also make sure to specify the region here. So basically the region is US East 1. You can find the region if you go to your S3 bucket and open it up, and on URL you'll see the region here. Yeah. Okay. Let me just put the region as well. Okay, now it's cool. Let's try to run this and make sure our permissions are enough. I will simply write npm run deploy -s3. Let's see if it works. Oops. Okay, am I in the correct folder? Let me verify that first. No, I'm not in the correct folder. I will close this down and come back, or maybe I will delete this instance, come back. Okay, now if I say pwd, if I type ls, you'll see I have to just go into this Angular app. Now I am in the correct folder. Okay. Let me run again, deploy -s3. Okay, you see it started uploading files onto S3 and now it's completed. Yeah, it's that simple. Let's verify whether our files are uploaded. Now I am in my S3 bucket. I will press refresh here. Okay, see, all my files are now uploaded. Now let's verify if actually our Angular application, this is the one I ran locally. So let's go to my web application, which we have already configured in that previous video. Now if I just refresh it, still it shows the old code. Yeah, because my old code is already replaced with the new one, but still again, why is it showing here? Well, this is basically the CloudFront service that we use. You know, CloudFront service, it caches everything and it will wait until the cache expiration. But we can always invalidate that cache manually as well. So let's try to invalidate cache. How can we do that? We can simply go to CloudFront. Yeah. And once you are there, you can select your CloudFront distribution, because you guys know that CloudFront is our caching service, our CDN, and it does caching as well. Just click on your CloudFront distribution, and there you will see a tab called invalidation. So this is the place where you will run invalidations. So just click that create invalidation button, and let's write a invalidation to all the parts of this particular CloudFront distribution. So just type in /star and invalidate it. By invalidating this, it will just remove all the cache that it has saved on the CloudFront distribution. So next time the user visit the application, it will not serve the content from its cache, but it will just go to the origin bucket and just get the content and come back to here, then cache it and then serve it. See, let's see, it's still in progress, but anyway I'm little hurry, so let me just refresh it. Now it's taking a little bit of time. Okay. You see, now our Angular application is loaded. Great. Now let's do one thing. You guys have seen I went to my CloudFront distribution manually and I went to invalidation and created the invalidation. But now that we have already configured our AWS CLI onto my local machine, let's write a script to invalidate it. Let me go to my package.json file, and just let's add a new script to invalidate cache. I'll say cache bust. Okay. I will copy the command from my presentation. So it's about invalidation CloudFront cache. Let me copy this. Let's come back to here, paste it in. So this basically another command from AWS CLI. So AWS, it says CloudFront. Previously it's referred to the S3 service. Now it's referring to the CloudFront service. Then the action is create invalidation. Then you're gonna have to pass this parameter distribution ID. So where can you pick the distribution ID? Let me go back to my CloudFront distribution and click on here, and there you will see the distribution ID. Let me copy it, yes, and just paste it in here. And the paths, this is fine. Alright, now before we run this script, we have to do one thing. If you can remember, for this particular user, we have provided the permission to interact with S3, but now he's going to interact with CloudFront as well, which is not allowed. So we have to provide him permission to interact with CloudFront as well. Before that, there's a small change here. I couldn't add this profile tag. Let's scope down to this particular user. Okay, now it's complete. So let's go back to our IAM. Let me go to services and select IAM. And let's click users and select the user Peter, and let's add another permission to him. So I will go to attach existing policies directly. If you search CloudFront, you will find CloudFront full access, but I don't want to give that. I always prefer to create my own policies, so I have the control over that. So I'll just click choose policies, and I will just simply filter my service CloudFront actions. You'll see what actions should he have. Basically, he should only be able to create an invalidation. So that's all. We don't want him to create a new distribution. That's not his duty, so I don't give him that permission, but only to create an invalidation. Resources, we don't have to pick a resource since CloudFront is a kind of global service. That's it. So just review the policy. Let's say restricted CloudFront invalidation policy, and create the policy. Okay, so let's go back to that user again. Click Peter, add permission, attach existing policies, filter my custom managed policies, and select restricted CloudFront attribution, invalidation, and add permission. I believe this will be enough for him to do the invalidation. So let's try it. So let's try to run this command. npm run cache bust. Will that work? Wait for it. Yes, you see it has returned a response saying now the invalidation is in progress. Let's actually try to change something. Let me go to my app component.html. Welcome to the title editor. Okay, let's push this change. First I have to of course build it. npm run build. Now it's built, so let's push the code to our bucket. npm run deploy s3. Now this will push all the latest code to my s3 bucket. It's uploading. It's quite fast, right? Okay, now let's run our invalidation. npm run cache bust. You can call this anything, right? This is just a name that I thought of. Okay, now it says it's in progress. Great. Now let's go to our Angular application and just try to refresh it. Yeah, you see, I think I misspelled it. Okay, doesn't matter. You see, it's very easy. Let's go back to my presentation. So far we have looked at how to push the code from an Angular application. Well, it's more or less similar for React application as well, right? Basically, you can simply install this create React application CLI, and you can simply create a React application by typing in this command. And if you go to Vue, so it's basically Vue also has CLI. You can simply install it globally, and you can scaffold a Vue application by running this command, right? So it's more or less the same. So actually I have already created those two applications. So these are my application. So let me just open up a window, open up in my Visual Studio Code. Yeah. So this is my React application, and this is my Vue application. You see? So let me go into my React application, and there's a package.json as you have expected. And let's actually copy and paste these two commands into that package.json, shall we? Okay, copy pasted it. Right. So in React, there's a way we can build the application. Oh, I think I pasted it at the wrong place. This is the place we have to paste it inside the script blocks. Okay. So basically, first let's build the React application. Okay. Now let's run npm run build. When it is run, it will create a separate directory to put all the CSS and HTML that is being compiled from this React application. So it will create a folder somewhere here. Yeah, let's wait for it. Yeah, okay. You see, it has created a build directory, and inside that you see still again is JavaScript and HTML, right? So but there's a small change here. Before you run npm run deploy s3, you have to change the directory name. Previously in Angular it was dist, but now in this case it's build. So that's the only change we have to do. Yeah, that's it. So let's run this npm run deploy -s3. Okay, it is uploading and it is completing. Yeah, now it's completed. Let's run a cache bust as well. npm run cache bust. Now when you run a cache invalidation, you'll be charged a little, but I think they have a very generous free tier or free invalidation limit as well. Anyway, let's go to my application. Not this one, this was my local application, and this one, daytoday.code.com, and let's try to refresh it. Yeah, now it's a React application. You see how easy it is? So let's try the other one as well, shall we? Let me go back to my Vue application. I will close down this package.json. I will open up my Vue application, yeah, and let's go to its package.json. I will open up a new command line. I will go to Vue app, yeah, and I will just copy paste those two scripts. Go to my React app again, and here I will just copy these two lines, come back to my Vue package.json under scripts. Let's simply paste it out. Now first we have to build this application. Okay, they are using Webpack to do the building part. I mean, let's say you have AngularJS application, which was the first version, like Angular 1. In that case, you might not have Webpack already configured with AngularJS, but still again, you can use Gulp or any other package or module loader or something, helper library to do this bundling, do the minification and concatenation of files, and build your HTML, JavaScript, and CSS files. Yeah. Anyway, so first we need to build this. So let's run npm run build. Yes, it's completed. You see, it has created this dist folder again. You see, still against JavaScript, HTML, and CSS. Now I want to change the directory into dist again. That's it. So let's run npm run deploy s3. It's going to upload my Vue application. Okay, it's now completing. Completed. Let's run an invalidation. npm run cache bust. I think you have like 1,000 invalidations free per month, so it's not a big issue. Okay, so let's go back to our application. Now it's a React one, so let's try to refresh it. Maybe the invalidation is still running. Maybe it's still running. Yeah, you see, now we have a review application. So that's it. So those are the things I want to show you guys. So it's how easy it is to deploy to S3, no matter which front-end framework that you use. And I will see you in another episode. Thank you very much.